It's a rivalry game. The Iowa week is upon us. Can Wisconsin get this huge win that they've so needed? I'm Rajeev. He's Justin. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bucky Report, your destination for all things Wisconsin Badgers. Authentic takes.
Oh my God.
Game analysis.
Touchdown Badgers! Ring one up!
And discussion from the fan perspective. Woo-hoo! Thanks for joining us and on Wisconsin.
Welcome to the Bucky Report. We are your hosts, Rajeev and Justin, back together on a midweek quick hit episode to talk about the upcoming weekend's game, which this weekend, Justin, is the Iowa Hawkeyes, a rivalry game for the Badgers. We are at the Bucky Report on Twitter, YouTube, and wherever you can find your podcast. If you like what we're doing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you know when we make new content. Thank you for helping the channel grow. Justin, we're back from Madison. We've had a few days to relax and get back into whatever we're getting back into. It is another massive game this week on the road at Iowa. Quick things. How are you feeling right now? Are you feeling somewhat confident? Are you not? Where's your head at right now?
I feel nervous. We constantly have games this season that seem to kind of help us reevaluate what this team is and what it's capable of. Now, we obviously learned a lesson on the Penn State one. We're going to be continuing to find out where the team's floor is. So hopefully we go in a positive direction this week. But
I mean, we've got 4 games left in the season, and we know that one is completely unwinnable because that's Oregon. We know that 2 are winnable, but who really knows how good Minnesota is? I even hate to think about that. Of course, there's Nebraska, but then this one is the road game at Kinnick Stadium, a place that we never play well in. And of course, it's a night game to add to that. Let's get into our big keys.
The Bucky Report's 3 big things.
So let's quickly give you some background on Iowa. They're scoring 29 points a game. Now, Iowa is not a team that ever has scored 29 points a game, at least in recent times. Their offense is better, but as you've pointed out in recent times, their defense is not as good. They're averaging 6 yards per attempt, 5.7 yards per carry. They run the ball about 61% of the time and pass 39. And the big news coming into this week, of course, Kaden McNamara has been benched. Brendan Sullivan, who, look, we just played Northwestern. I don't want to hear Northwestern again. Now we got to play old Northwestern's old quarterback. Northwestern transfer after that Jack Lausch guy got the job. He transferred to Iowa. He's a bit of a mobile quarterback. He can move a little bit. Very similar, I think, to what we saw last week in Penn State's backup in Bo Pribula. So a guy that definitely has legs on him. That's not going to be the easiest matchup. But as we always know with Iowa, one of the things they do very well is special teams. That's our big thing. Number one is keep Wetjen in check. Kaden Wetjen is their punt returner, kick returner extraordinaire, one of the best in the country. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. There's a kick returner at Iowa. There always seems to be. And stay disciplined on special teams altogether. No matter what the game is, Justin, when we play Iowa, special teams always plays a part. And I think it's almost silly to ignore that. Obviously, we've got a really good punter. They've got a really good punter. We've had a few hiccups in special teams, but last week it was one of our best parts of the game. We have got to keep this guy in check, kicking away from him. But special teams can't be an afterthought in this game. It's got to be one of the primary objectives.
Yeah, I agree. We need to stalemate Iowa. We rarely do that, and it's a big factor in the game. Last year's game was heavily factored by field position, which seemed like we were constantly pinned and unable to kind of really get any momentum going. And eventually that caught up with us, where Iowa just got it together, being in better field position. And when you're pinned against the goal line constantly, it's very difficult to run your offense the way you want to. And Wisconsin can't have that happen again this year.
Yeah, I mean, last week against Northwestern, they pinned Northwestern deep several times and got a safety in the first half, which we obviously can't deal with, because then you're not only losing 2 points, you're also giving them good field position. It's just not a thing we need to do. And we, listen, last week Bakos had a good game. That's important for us. Bertram's continues to have good games, but this is literally the best special teams team in America year in and year out, and we have to recognize that. All right, Justin, take number 2. This one's a big one for us.
Number 2, Locke must protect the ball. Don't beat yourself. So obviously the killer that was in the Penn State game was the pick 6. He needs to get running back on the right lane again here. We need to have him playing good football in this game, because it's not a game he has to carry us, but it is a game that he has to be a plus factor for the offense in terms of being able to win this game. I think the running game will be better than it was, but I still think he's going to have to make timely plays in order for us to be able to consistently move the football and for us to hopefully put some points on the board. So he's got to do a good job of protecting the football and making sure that he's not taking unnecessary risks.
Or do you have confidence that my confidence wavered obviously last week after the Penn State game, especially with the one pass that he had, his inability to hit, like back shoulder throws to the outside. I don't know if his confidence is shaken a little bit. Obviously his confidence is shaken after that game, but he was riding so high after the three other games. And this is another real team, right? We've beaten 5 not so good teams. We haven't beat a good team yet. This is one of those good teams. Do you have confidence that he's going to play better in this game than he did against Penn State?
I think it's a weaker defense. Excuse me. But I mean, that's going to be, it really depends. I don't feel so good about it that I feel like it's a guarantee. I think that we've kind of seen what he is at this point, which is a guy who can be a little laissez-faire with the football at times. And his decision-making isn't always great. And that's something that he has got to, in our bigger games, do a better job of making good decisions. He's capable of making some really nice throws. He's also capable of making some really boneheaded decisions where he puts the ball into harm's way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've talked a lot the last few weeks about if Braedyn Locke is going to be our quarterback next year. And we had a perfect opportunity to do that, to kind of gain traction in that last week, and that didn't work. And if he wants to be our quarterback, we have to win games like this. You can't go through an entire season and only beat crappy teams. We don't have crappy teams left on our schedule. Even Nebraska and Minnesota are better than the teams that we've been playing. The 4 games we have left are 4 Oregon's not winnable. 3 winnable, all losable games though. There's that.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that to me is what's scary looking at Braedyn Locke. Is if his confidence is down, he is going to make some dumb decisions and potentially put the ball in harm's way. You're playing on the road. You're playing at Kinnick Stadium, a place that's very difficult to play. It's a night game. Just all the things that we were excited about Penn State coming to us, they have that now. And they had a big win last week. Certainly a couple weeks ago, they got beat by Michigan State, but they pummeled Northwestern, which we did the same. There's nothing big about that. They have a new quarterback. They've got all this energy. So his ability to protect the ball.
They've had a habit of winning a game than losing a game, so they are on track to lose this one. It's been every other game this entire season. Let's
for sure. And
going.
the one thing about this Iowa team is their defense is not what it was last year. That's for sure. Not. When you give you 32 points to Michigan State, that's not a good thing. So Locke will have his opportunities, but if he can't protect the ball, and then of course there's going to be pressure on him. We know that. I mean, Iowa's always got a strong defensive line. I'm not sure how good their sack numbers are this year, but either way, he has to be prepared for that, holding on to the ball there and not putting it in harm's way. Every year we play this team, it's like that battle of attrition. It's like field position, like you said. It's really who screws up less. Pretty much. That's exactly why this has to be the cleanest game that he plays.
Yeah.
Number 3, creativity in the run game. I am really over this situation. I talk about this all the time, and I feel like Iowa's a team. First of all, we know they're going to run the ball a lot. We know we're going to run the ball a lot. Our running game was not what it should have been last week. We all thought the yards per carry were going to be high. It wasn't. So Walker, hopefully Dupree. We've got to have some creativity. I would like to see some things like the jet sweep and different plans. And more importantly than anything else in that creativity, if you're going to run the read option, Braedyn Locke, you need to keep it a time or two. And that, I mean, you're literally lining up in a read option and telling the defense, I'm going to just hand this off to Walker. So you can just key in on that. No problem. The ends can crash in. That has to change. And I would like to think, Justin, that after watching that Penn State game, that Bill Longo and Luke Fickell are making some adjustments in that. And either they're going to stop running that play or running it so often, or they're going to force him to actually keep that ball, have some confidence. But either way you cut it, we're going to run the ball. And if all we do is what we did last week, they're going to stop us. And that can't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the run game, for better or worse, well, number one, the execution just has to be better. Like, you can't get physically overwhelmed. Now, on a plus side, you're not dealing with the level of athletes that you were last week at Penn State. There's still going to be quality. Iowa always has a salty defensive line. It's just you're not going to have the guys who are capable of – you're not going to have athletes just blowing you out the field. At times, I kind of felt that way against Penn State in the second half when they just stymied us. I don't think Iowa's going to be capable of doing quite that level of disruption, but they're very They're very good at being consistent in their play and playing their keys, which is something that not all defenses do. Like they're very locked in on the way that they're supposed to play. And that's something that very few teams can have that level of consistency. Normally somebody gets caught up in the eye candy and ends up blowing a play, which takes one guy to end up leaving you a gap to work on. Iowa doesn't really do that. Like you have to earn it against them if you're going to make plays. So Wisconsin has to find a way to continue to pound on them, and hopefully you catch them once or twice. And when you do, you take advantage of it.
Do you expect the formations to be different this week? Are you expecting any new wrinkles at all from Longo, or do you feel like more of the same?
I would hope so. I'd hope they're always going to take and reevaluate things and say, yeah, this is something we can do better. Maybe we need to put a little twist on this because this didn't work. I think if they come into this game looking at it like, well, Iowa's not as good, so we don't need to try it, or we don't need to necessarily make a lot of changes, I think that's dumb. I think you should always be trying to maximize whatever you have. If you're going to be lazy with it, then you don't belong in the profession.
No doubt about that. All right, let's talk about what we think is actually going to happen in this game. This is going to be an interesting discussion.
The Bucky Report predictions.
So before the season started, Justin, we all predicted this as a win, actually, interestingly enough. So the game is a night game, 6:30 Central Time at Iowa City at Kinnick Stadium. Going to be very difficult. Brendan Sullivan is going to be the starting quarterback, as we mentioned, for Iowa. Brings a new wrinkle, not Cade McNamara, and there's definitely some positivity there associated with that. I'm very interested to hear what your prediction is for this game. Walk me through your prediction and why it is what it is.
I really don't feel strongly about this. It's probably going to be either team having this score, but I'm you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to predict a win. I'm going to predict 20-17 Wisconsin. And I think that can go either way. Like we could lose this game by the same amount. It just doesn't feel like either team's going to be able to control the other. I think our defense is pretty good. I think Iowa's defense is pretty good. And I think when it comes down to it, we have to be able to stop the run game. And to be fair, for the bulk of the game against Penn State, we did that. We didn't let them get away with running like crazy on us. And we kind of wore down as the game went on. But Iowa doesn't really offer the same level of passing ability that we're going to see, or that we saw with Penn State, which will give you some flexibility. I also don't think that they're necessarily a powerhouse offense. Now, they're going to make you earn it on defense. Like they will absolutely roast you. If once again, like we're talking on defense, when we get them on defense, they play really clean. Same thing on the offensive side. We can't get caught up in the trash because one guy gets out of position, and we saw what happened last year. They ended up having like a 70-yard touchdown run. And they were a team that had a horrible rushing attack last year. But it took one guy out of place, and then we got absolutely gashed. You can't have that happen. Like there's got to be guys have to be consistent. They have to be flowing and playing fast, and we didn't feel that way against Penn State. At times, especially in the RPO game, that is something that Iowa's going to be able to do, that run option with a quarterback. There were some absolutely horrifically huge gaps. Like I looked at the middle of the field, I'm like, between the hashes, there's nobody there. And we're watching. I'm like, how is this even possible that there's no defenders even in the remotely in play for Prebula when that was going on? I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, when in the second half when he came in, and we were in the end zone at that time, and yeah, like there were just huge holes. And Justin even said, like, it was just like, who's in the middle of the field? There was nobody there. Yeah. Prebula had no one within like 5 or 6 yards from him. It was absolutely crazy. I've been back and forth on this game all week. I mean, all week. Interestingly enough, if you look at the 3 true road games we've had this year, which is at USC, Northwestern, and Rutgers, we've actually played fairly well, barring the second half against USC. That was a complete disaster. But realistically, now again, they're not all the best teams, but we played fairly well when we're away from home. Luke Fickell has, the thing, he's kind of had this mantra of like, it's just us, no one else is here. Like, it's just play for each other. There is kind of something to that. So that lends me to kind of think, well, maybe we can steal a victory. The other side of me just realizes that we haven't beaten a good team yet.
Yeah.
I know it's coming. I know one of these times we're going to beat a good team. I've been back and forth on this, and I hate to do this. And I would love nothing more than to be wrong about this prediction, but I am predicting a loss because I just don't see how Braedyn Locke is going to be able to not turn the ball over in this game. To be honest, I mean, he's pretty much been a turnover, like consistent turning the ball over every game. I think that's going to happen again, and I think it's going to put us in tough situations. Like I said, I would love to be wrong, and I will celebrate it beyond belief. 24-20 Iowa is my prediction. Very close to you. I think you're right. Could definitely be an either or situation. I could absolutely see a situation where Wisconsin gets it done because, again, we have been playing pretty well on the road. This team doesn't have the defense it used to have, but I hate to do it. And it's the first time since the Alabama game that I picked a loss, but I just don't. What I saw last week really soured my emotions and sort of all the excitement that I had and the belief that I had in this team. I'm not saying we're not going to, I still think 7 wins is definitely there. And I would love to have that surprise. And if we can get out, play well early, control their special teams, not turn the ball over, we absolutely can win. And we would in that situation. The question is, can we do all those things? I don't think we do. It's 24-20. I hate that I'm picking a loss, Justin, but I got to do it, man.
I mean, I came into this show thinking about or assuming I was going to predict a loss, and I switched when we got started. We'll see which way it goes. I think, like I said, I expect it to be a close game. I don't think we're really going to fear Sullivan through the air. So it's going to be basically run or bust with Iowa. And if we can do a good job of keeping them somewhat in check, on the plus side, there's just not really a pass receiver that threatens you with this team that's going to really, truly scare you. So Wisconsin's going to have some ability to cause problems for them. So you're going to be finding them.
Yeah, the other thing is we made a lot of mistakes last week that I hope get cleaned up. Certainly the drops. I mean, if we see 3 drops again in the first quarter, I mean, forget it. Just forget it. You're not beating that team. But what we saw was the plays were there. Like we do have that ability to move the ball. We know that. And I'm hoping I'm wrong. I've been wrong the last few weeks, as far as margin of victory, and I was certainly wrong last week. We both were. I'm hoping I'm wrong again. I would love to be wrong, but I just don't have this feeling that we're going to go to Kinnick and get this win. I think the wins are coming for us soon. They're not going to be here. I think Nebraska and Minnesota can really be those teams that we can eye up. Yeah. But if you do get this game, you're at 6 wins. This is a game for bowl eligibility. You're at your 6. Then maybe you can just put up a fight next week against Oregon and then try to get your wins in the later half of the season. But a couple quick programming notes. Basketball season is here. So Justin's favorite time of the year, talk about Greg Gard. We are going to be doing a basketball preview show, similar to what we did for football, like season predictions. We're going to do that this weekend, along with our regular pod. So there'll be a couple shows coming out this weekend. We'll try to keep them separate just because I know there'll be a lot to talk about with Iowa. If there isn't, maybe we'll just wrap it all into one show. But be on the lookout for that. Hit the like button if you haven't already. We appreciate that. Justin, final thoughts going into this game?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before. They need a palate cleanser. This has got to be one where they go out there and just wash away last week and get their head focused and ready to play again. And this is a gettable game. Iowa is not a juggernaut. They're kind of a mirror image in a way. So Wisconsin can go out there and prove that they're just a little bit more well-rounded than Iowa, and I think that's how you win this game. You be a little bit better with Iowa and show a similar level of run.
Games with Iowa have always been close. They always will be close because they are, like you said, a very mirror image team to us. We're very similar. And it would be wonderful to have a rivalry game, the first of the 2 this year, that we can actually get under our belts. And it would, there's one fact, it would be Luke Fickell's best win. We said that last week. We'll say it again this week. We'll say it again next week. It's Luke Fickell's best win if he can get this done.
Iowa
is going to be very, very difficult. Would love to see it. We'll be Locked On Badgers after the game on Saturday. And, of course, back here Sunday night, as always, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Bucky Report or The Bucky Report Podcast from wherever you get your content. Until next time, on Wisconsin.